gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through your world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings with Jeff Grubb. Today, there is a Nintendo Direct that just happened, and we have a whole bunch of other news coming right at you. But first, join me in welcoming today's co-host for Game Mess Mornings. It's Lucy James from Giant Bomb, everybody. Hooray.
Hi.
How's it going, Lucy?
It's good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
We've not done a thing, just you and I before, have we?
Because everything happened so fast, and it seemed like you had a lot of responsibilities carrying over from other things you committed to do before. So it's like, we're doing those things, and then you guys were traveling. So I'll try to get Lucy and Tam on as quickly as possible. But I'm pretty excited. So I mean, how are things? Like you traveled. It seems like you were the one that didn't get sick somehow. How are you feeling about all that stuff?
So it was really like, I didn't know how Summer Game Fest was going to go in terms of masking and stuff. And for the most part, people wear masks. But obviously, we just saw so many people. The flight down, like Tam was sat next to all these people who just weren't wearing masks, and that's where he thinks he picked up the Rona. And I felt a bit weird. And then I got home and I was like, oh no, I'm just sick. Because I was testing negative, and then I got a PCR negative. So now I feel like I should be studied for science, because if I'm not going to get COVID from the gamers,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but
you've built up some sort of tolerance to the gamers. You're Matt Damon in what is Contagion or whatever it is, the one guy that was immediately just fine. You were just fine. You just skipped over it. So yeah,
it's fine. No, I don't know. Maybe it's just the years of going to Gamescom and E3 where I have built up a natural immunity to everything something could throw at me.
Yeah, I'm like, I usually didn't get sick coming home from those kinds of things. Usually I didn't. But then I had two small children who just like go to preschool and stuff like that.
Pick up everything.
And just bring home every disease. There's not just like Nova virus or whatever. Here's a new one that like no one has heard of. Like your doctor hasn't even heard of it. They have to like look it up online. It's like, okay, cool.
What?
Yeah, there was like some like 3 points disease or something that we all got for a couple of weeks. It's like, this is kind of like Novo virus or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, whatever. So I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I am just riddled with all kinds of different things. So I'm just going to accept that. Yes. Anywhere I go, I'll just continue to get that sick. But we're going to get into it, everybody. Before we get into the game mess, let me explain kind of what this show is. Each weekday, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the Ketchup, where we discuss the biggest stories that are happening in gaming lives everywhere, and maybe even bring some of our own original reporting from either me or GameSpot and elsewhere. For all these topics, I will get the the insights of an expert like Lucy James. And if you are watching live on Twitch, know that you can always listen to this show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or you can find the RSS feed on GameSpeed or giantbomb.com. I'm always going to keep messing up those GBs. I can mess up those GBs every day.
As long as you don't do GameSpot, GameStop.
That's
Although
inevitable.
That's easier to do.
Yeah, that's inevitable.
Even I've been guilty of that one.
How much shame do you feel when you do it? Because I know that I'm going to feel terrible, even though it's so easy to do.
Well, we don't have GameStop in the UK, so I feel exceptionally guilty. I'm like, not only I've got it from osmosis from being in the States. It's like, I'm messing up the brand I've worked for 8 years.
When you say game, do you actually mean like Game UK, the store, and like no one knows because it's just the same word, so you can get away with mixing it up?
I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, game. At least it's not Granger Games. There are infamous stories. Do you know about what happened with Granger Games in the UK?
I don't even know what a Granger Games is.
Okay, so Granger Games is a store that was local to my neck of the woods. Newcastle came from the Granger Market, and it was like a nationwide video game store. And someone in chat wrote Granger things, which is very good. And one year they sponsored the Games Media Awards, which were a thing in the UK. And I will say that I did not go, but a lot of my friends went. And basically, like, just execs on various substances heckling the presenters, threatening to beat people up. There were I'm not. I believe the more accurate description would be little people.
Oh no, yes,
Um,
that's right.
with platters and like booth babes with condoms.
What year was this?
2011,
Oh my
2012.
God. Oh my God.
So if we're talking about UK retailers, Granger Games is, and I was like, all of their stuff was like bright orange too.
Uh-huh.
So it was a very obnoxious, yeah. I don't think Granger Games is around anymore.
Maybe that's for the best. That sounds terrible. It's kind of what you're describing. That I'm like, okay, maybe that's something that happened in the '90s or something.
Nope.
Even then, that's not acceptable. But it's like that was a time where it's like people thought, okay, well, we can't be racist anymore, so we're gonna treat little people terribly and continue to treat them like objects and stuff like that, and we're gonna be, we're gonna hate gay people still and all that stuff. But it's like in 2011. That's like just 10 years ago, but I guess, maybe it never really got that much better. All right, let's get into the news, everybody. I got a whole bunch of stories here for you. Let's start here with Final Fantasy 16 won't be an open world game by Ollie Welsh at Polygon. I got this from Ollie. Let's go ahead and read it. In a recent spate of interviews, Yoshida has shed a little more light on Final Fantasy 16 and the departures it will make from other recent Final Fantasy games. Most significant is that it will not follow Final Fantasy 15 in using an open world design. Yoshida told IGN that, while inspired by the open world games that dominate big budget single player gaming at the moment, he wanted to use smaller sections of more varied locations to convey the game's epic scope. And then here's a quote from him. Yes, in Final Fantasy 16, you'll find inspiration from recent AAA open world RPGs, he said. However, to bring a story that feels like it spans an entire globe and beyond, we decided to avoid an open world design that limits us to single open world spaces and instead focuses on an independent area-based game design that can give players a better feel of a truly global scale. How does that sound to you, Lucy James? Because that actually sounds pretty enticing to me right now.
Like, oh my God, I don't know. It feels I mean, so Final Fantasy 16 is one of my most anticipated games. I don't know why it has such a hold on me. I really love fantasy, so maybe that's why. I'm genuinely quite excited at the fact that it's not going to be open world, because 15, from what I remember of 15, like it was open world for a bit,
Yeah,
and then it just funneled you down. And so I don't know. I don't mind that at all. Like if it's a more focused experience, if it's not going to be filled with a bunch of crap that I'm never going to do or feel like I'm just checking things off a list just for the mere act of doing it, then I'm excited.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like the way you just described it, I think is good for like Final Fantasy 15. Definitely felt like it was open world to a point, almost to be like, oh, for the commercials and for the trailers, we want it to look open world, and then we kind of need to do our thing and we'll figure it out. And I think they just come at it from the wrong angle about when they approach like what they need for these games to work. This sounds like they have a vision and they are doing what best serves that vision. I guess I didn't know that Final Fantasy 16 was going to be this globe-trotting thing. To me, it seemed like...
I didn't.
Yeah, it seemed like the kind of thing that could have been like, we have a kingdom and most of the intrigue is going to happen around this kingdom and in the surrounding territories. But, maybe they are going on this adventure that's going to take them to exotic lands and stuff like that. That sounds very cool. And that variety and kind of having the propulsion of like, okay, you're done in this space, now move to the next space, move to the next one. And having that the story tie into where you're going, that does sound nice. I don't know. Some of Final Fantasy 16 is really working for me as well. I know what you mean when you say that. There was a lot of these interviews. Did you see anything else about Final Fantasy 16 that's happening right now that you're really excited about?
Pam just dropped one in the GameSpot article. Final Fantasy 16 needs its mature rating, baby.
Yes. Yeah, I actually have that here on the next. Let's go right to it. Final Fantasy 16 needs its mature rating, says producer. Yeah, Final Fantasy.
That is also enticing to me. Hell yeah.
Yes, absolutely. This is really because they've showed something that definitely looked like Game of Thrones early on, and I'm like, okay, this is like what happens with a lot of Japanese developers. They get into like really, at least recently, they get super into their prestige TV, and they get inspired by it, and they want to go make a game based on it. And I bet everyone working on this was watching Game of Thrones, but it's like doing
until
that
season 8,
until
and then they
season
were like,
8.
"Oh, we've made a huge mistake."
We screwed up. But it's like, if you're doing that, you really need to go all the way, and it sounds like that's exactly what they're doing. So Final Fantasy 16 is likely to receive a mature rating ahead of its launch in summer of 2023, which is somewhat of a novelty for games in Square Enix's storied role-playing series. To date, there are only a handful of titles that go beyond the T or E rating, and Final Fantasy 16 looks set to be among them. In an interview with GameSpot, producer Naoki Yoshida said that the team pursued this rating as it let them tell the story they wanted to more freely. So, again, it sounds like they have a vision, and they're going to do what best serves that vision, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really hope so. And I mean, an R rating is what, like an 18 back in the UK?
Yeah.
But the thing is, as well, is that even though it's going to have that rating, I wonder if it is just going to be, oh, we'll put more blood effects in it. I don't know
Sure.
what would really constitute it being super mature, like, unless, I mean, yeah, more humanoid kind of enemies, but even then, oh, I don't know how dark it could get, because I guess in my mind, with Final Fantasy, it's like, oh yeah, you got all these mature themes, but I don't really see it as being dark and like worthy of an R rating. I'm kind of struggling to see where the R rating would come from, but if that means that they are working to something, the mature rating, sorry, and if they're working towards something and they feel like they don't have to be shackled by trying to get it as a teen, I'm really intrigued to see what they could do, especially with Yoshida at the helm.
Right.
I think, like, I mean, Nomura, definitely, like, the stuff that he's worked on has kind of been a little bit more T for teen, I think. He has a more, and maybe I'm just clouded by my judgment because he's worked so much on Kingdom Hearts, but it feels like I don't think
fair thing to cloud your judgment there. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like I feel like maybe because of his association with Kingdom Hearts, he could not really push stuff into mature.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe it's not his interest. It's like not his desire. And it definitely seems like this. Yeah, you like Yoshida. They maybe it's like the dark, like in Final Fantasy, you frequently kill God or whatever you do, and that's a pretty dark theme. But it's maybe the execution here will be grimmer and bloodier, probably. But maybe like the suggestion of like what is happening on screen will be more explicit instead of just being like, oh, we are going to do this thing, and then the camera pans away. It's like, no, we're going to keep the camera right on this character as they literally are being executed. So. It's, and with the political intrigue that they're suggesting with this game, all this stuff is like on the table. So, yeah, I'm into games that have a strong vision. It sounds like this one is definitely one of those.
I'm super excited about it. Like the thing that's hanging me up, and no shade at all to people named Clive, but the main character is called Clive, and it's like, I haven't felt this way about a character since like Alan Wake, and the main character obviously being called Alan. It just doesn't. I don't know. Clive just doesn't feel like it would fit in a Final Fantasy world.
Well,
you've got like a Cloud,
right? You're
Titus,
right.
and
okay, like listen, the only Clive I know is Gunman Clive for the Nintendo eShop game, and Clive Owen, and those seem like cool Clives that could like go back in fantasy worlds and do their thing. Is
Clive Barker?
Clive Barker, there you go. Yeah, I don't. It does seem like a name that they probably like read in a book about UK history, and they're like, let's use that. There's a little bit more here from these interviews. He says, he also explained that while Final Fantasy 16 would feature the series' traditional party of combatants, companions would be AI controlled, and the player would remain focused on the protagonist, Clive. We didn't want to overwhelm users in our newest trailer, so we focused solely on Clive's battles, Yoshida said, including getting Lucy James to like his name. So that's a big part of Clive's battles. That said, for most of his journey, Clive will be accompanied by one or more companions. These companions will participate in battle, as well as trade banter with Clive. That said, the party members will be AI-driven so as to allow players to focus solely on controlling Clive. Now, we've known that they were going in this action-oriented route. Does that sound like a good balance for how, maintaining the party sort of thing that Final Fantasy has always had, while also giving you more control, more direct control over the player character like many people want? So,
I mean, if all the companions are AI controlled, love that. I assume in kind of Final Fantasy, am I going to be... The thing that gets me about like having multiple party members is that I always get stressed that I am not upgrading them or in the right way, and so I'm intrigued to see like what skill trees etc are going to look like. I mean, the one that springs to mind for me is Final Fantasy 12, because that upgrade system is like, I love it, but it's very stressful, especially when you have a whole party. And then I remember getting to a point in the game once where I was like, oh, Penelo or whoever, I'd biff how I had upgraded her and like all my white mages were gone. And so I was like, if it feels a bit more like 15, where the lads had specific roles, I guess you could say, within the game, I think that's good. I kind of like the fact that I can focus all my attention on just Clive.
Sure.
But I want to also be able to have a lot of choice within what I can do with Clive. I can't keep saying Clive. I'm sorry.
I mean, the word is losing all meaning for sure.
So I'm getting semantic satiation for the word Clive.
Yep. Yes, it's like completely loose. It's getting knocked loose in my brain and just floating out there. Clive. We maybe okay. Let's combine these two topics: the M rating and Clive. Are we going to see a naked Clive?
Hey, I mean, give the people what they want. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like we always get like boobed up protagonists and stuff.
We absolutely do.
Put some get a nude Clive in there.
Computer, can I get a nude Clive?
Can I get a nude Clive?
Let me see a hat wobble there. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think anything that they would do would be still quite tasteful. I don't think we're getting a full frontal Clive.
Get some Clive butt cleavage. There we go.
We get some Clive-age.
There we go.
I was gonna say some Red Dead heat physics on Clive, but then I realized I'd taken it too far for 8 a.m. in the morning. I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you so much for dealing with this so early in the day. I appreciate that. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more Final Fantasy to talk about pretty soon. Next up on our story rundown, though, is Johnny Cage actor may be teasing the next Mortal Kombat game by Jordan Miller at VGC. The actor behind Mortal Kombat's Johnny Cage appears to have teased that he's recording new material for the fighting game series. On Monday, Andrew Bowen, who portrays Cage in Mortal Kombat X and 11, tweeted a video of himself at the Warner Brothers studio lot. To the background of music that sounds suspiciously like Mortal Kombat 2's opening theme. The video's audio says, "Every deadly technique, it's savage combat." And this is from the VGC article. I'm not sure what this is referring to. Journalist Jeff Grubb claimed that last August that NetherRealm was working on Mortal Kombat 12, suggesting the studio was prioritizing it over its DC superhero fighting game Injustice due to uncertainty over its future, the developer's future, with parent company WB Games. So once again, this is in line with what I've heard previously about this, where this is a studio that, has traditionally gone back and forth between Injustice and Mortal Kombat, at least in recent history, and has had a lot of success doing that. And so people were expecting Injustice next because they did Mortal Kombat 11. But with Discovery and that web of ownership and a company looking for people to come and buy their gaming group, including NetherRealm and maybe especially NetherRealm, there was uncertainty at NetherRealm about like, okay, so should we start working on an Injustice game? Because that might make us a little bit more difficult to be sold off or purchased. And we just don't know if we're going to have access to this IP in the future. Whereas Mortal Kombat would get sold off with NetherRealm. So they're like, let's go work on Mortal Kombat 12. For one thing, we know we'll have that IP. But a second, Mortal Kombat 11 made a huge amount of money. It was the most successful fighting game of all time, except for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it's really just kind of right there. And maybe with microtransactions, maybe it is more successful. So following that up, it also just made all the sense in the world. So this lines up. Does that sound right to you, Lucy James?
Oh, yeah, that sounds completely right. I think the whole uncertainty stuff with Warner Brothers at the moment is incredibly interesting, and I'm still waiting for, I don't know, some huge shakeups around there. Like, it feels like they've been treading uncertain waters for the past couple of years now, especially with all of that. Like, I can't even keep track of who or where Warner Brothers assets have gone now.
Same.
Like, there's the AT&T thing.
Exact same.
I don't even know. I don't remember where Rooster Teeth fits into all this because I always forget they're owned by that group too.
Right, and like HBO, I'm like, oh yeah, it's in that same thing. Yeah, it's hard to keep track of.
And so I think it's a very smart move to work on 12, especially because not just because 11 was so popular and it's their own IP, but the movie was also incredibly successful. There's going to be another one of those. Actually, there's going to be like, didn't they say there were going to be a few of them?
I think so. Yes, because the movie did pretty well, and I think they're like, oh right, we are totally investing in this.
This is a fun video game movie that actually wasn't bad.
I stopped watching it, but also it's like, yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah, it was like I had a fun time watching it. I've seen worse. I saw Welcome to Raccoon City
for sure.
Good Lord. But yeah, I mean, it does kind of suck because the future of Injustice is kind of in limbo, and I wonder if we'll ever see another one at this
Yeah,
point. And maybe that does sound a bit pessimistic, but
I think it just comes down to them like figuring out their future. Like once they're on more solid
yeah.
footing, whether that is under WB or whatever it is, under that umbrella somewhere, and they know that they continue there, or if they do get sold off, like if Sony's been buying a lot of fighting game companies and developers and Evo tournaments and stuff, maybe Sony comes and buys them. But once that happens, maybe Sony would be willing to license like Injustice stuff and to make that happen. Now they have Marvel things, so maybe Sony's not the best example there, but still, like
I hey, Embracer. I was genuinely thinking that. I was like, why is Embracer not swooping in at this point? And the thing that gets me about this story is that like before actors, devs, they're under such strict NDAs. So what is Andrew Bowen doing? Like, unless it's something completely innocuous,
Yeah.
and he thought it was fine, because I believe that I believe they are working on it, right? Like
Sure.
everything lines up. Why is he doing this?
I mean, actors,
But
right?
also, why would he be at the Warner Brothers studio lot? Like, why wouldn't he be?
Right.
I don't know. It feels weird.
Maybe,
like, why would he be
maybe he's
there?
doing an animated movie. Like maybe it's more simple than that. Like you could be onto something there. And like an animated version of like the Mortal Kombat games now, because like that like Warner Brothers has like a pretty substantial animated studio arm, and they do a lot of DC stuff. So why not expand to Mortal Kombat stuff? That would probably be pretty. Who knows? Maybe that's a more simple solution here. But also he's probably doing voice acting for Mortal Kombat 12. Activision shareholders ignore board and vote for a misconduct report. This is by Stephen Totillo at Axios. So just a quick like summation of what that means. Activision, when it was first getting all that heat for the way that employees have been treated from the beginning at Activision and Blizzard, they said one of the things they were going to do is a quarterly report about harassment and other misconduct within their company. And they're like, and we'll release it publicly. And then when the heat died down a little bit, they're like, we're not going to do that. And then the shareholders were like, okay, we want to vote and have like a little bit of a say on this. And they have voted to say, we want you to release this. And the board says, we will consider it. That is not a binding thing from the shareholders. So let me just kind of sum up here from Totillo as well. Activision shareholders today voted for the company to issue an annual report about misconduct at the game maker. The non-binding vote signaled skepticism that the company was sufficiently transparent in its own disclosures about misconduct. Activision's board had recommended a no vote regarding the report, saying it would divert energy and resources better used to address worker concerns. The company has said it was already committed to transparency. The affirmative vote echoed a similar revolt against Microsoft last year when stock owners of that company ignored their board's recommendation against issuing an annual sexual harassment report. This is, to me, this is the kind of thing where like they said they were going to do this. I think, and this is one company that we know has had issues. They have admitted it, even though most recently they were saying, hey, we found that there was no systemic issues. We investigated ourselves, and we talked about this on one of the shows last week. Like we investigated ourselves and we cleared ourselves of any wrongdoing on a systemic level. Well, a couple months ago when they were settling stuff for $18 million, they're like, oh, we do have issues that we need to address on a systemic level, essentially is what they were saying. So they've admitted in the past, even though they've changed their tune, they said they would do this. It just makes sense that I think they should.
Yeah, they should do it. But it's like, yeah, we've investigated ourselves and nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
We're fine. Like, it's just.
I was gonna say that this is the kind of thing where this all lines up with like Bobby Kotick getting being up for re-election for CEO and stuff like that, and having his pay fully restored, and the board basically 100% supporting Bobby Kotick. I mean, that's the other story.
Yeah, that's the other story.
Yeah, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick is reelected to the board for another year, so he's back fully on the board, and he basically controls that. Like he is the ringleader of that group, so they are all behind him. It says he was successfully reelected to the board of directors for another year as a result of the company's annual shareholder meeting yesterday. This was despite efforts by company employees and shareholders to oust Kotick, which began in November. So like there's a bunch of competing things here where Kotick is trying to get like stay on the board, not be ousted in any way from the board, or as CEO trying to keep his pay in full. And so it sounded like he was like lining up a bunch of stuff, and putting out the harassment report would directly clash with that, it would seem like, because it could reveal things that make him look bad.
Yeah, and if that docks his pay at all, or his bonuses. I don't want to be reductive and say, like, oh, it's like Succession, but, you know, that's my frame of reference to this kind of corporate world and stuff, and where that show is just full of awful people doing awful things, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, the optimism I had in the world about why people would let this stuff happen and continue to do it is just kind of fleeting with every glance, really. And yeah, I mean, Theo Hux in chat just said, turns out the board cares more. Shareholders care more about money than people. Who knew?
Mm-hmm. And you know, this is also like the shareholders could say, we want the report, but we're also going to keep Bobby Kotick on the board. And it's like, well, we like the money you're making us, even though Activision is on a kind of a downward trajectory right now in terms of not making them a lot of money, but whatever. They could still like say, we like the money you've made us in the past, but we also want to hold you responsible. And you know, that could be the kind of thing where there's a lot of shareholder and investment groups right now that are trying to do like investment with ethics and investment that cares about the world and cares about people. And really that is sort of it's like the greenwashing thing where a company's like, oh yeah, hey, we offset our carbon things, but really they are still very bad for the environment in a lot of other ways. It's a similar concept where these investment groups can sort of wash their hands of the bad things happening. Because like, hey, we asked for harassment part. We care about what's going on inside there, but not enough to shake things up to the point where we might not get our investment or our return on our investment. So
yes. Everyone can have a mental health day or like some other shitty employee resource instead of actually getting to the root of the problem.
It's the lawyer from Jurassic Park saying everyone can have a coupon day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's and I will say, like, board stuff is definitely not within really my realm of expertise, but it's just, imagine being an employee of Blizzard, like especially one who marched, who is trying to get all the union stuff off the ground. Imagine being an employee from Blizzard who was ousted because of all of this, in like kind of pushed out sort of way, not in the wrong and getting rid of kind of way. Yep. Or if you left your job at Blizzard because of harassment, and then seeing this. Like, how defeated must you feel if you're still at Blizzard?
I mean, like, think about like the people who like spoke out and were sources for stories trying to change things, and you look around and things don't change all that much. You were saying, it's easy to feel very defeated here. It's easy to feel like it's so impossible to change these things. Part of it maybe is on Microsoft, because investors would be very afraid to change things while the deal is still in flux with that acquisition. And so then on the other side of things, once that deal closes, if Microsoft doesn't immediately make big sweeping changes in the leadership level there, they will. I think they'll be complicit, and they'll all of the criticism will shift toward them, and they should rightfully take that on.
Yeah, 100%, and you can't claim ignorance at any level about that too. And like, I think Big Phil is more than aware of the perception. Like, he's obviously been asked the kind of difficult questions about this acquisition and what's going to be happening to Activision Blizzard if it goes through. I think he's absolutely aware of it. It remains to be seen what he does about it. Absolutely. And it's obviously not just all on Big Phil's shoulders. He's and if you're unfamiliar, we call him Big Phil at GameSpot.
Absolutely.
He's unsure of that nickname, he told us.
That's his problem. That's not our problem. Big Phil, bigger Reggie, and then little Jimmy over at Saudi.
Little Jimmy Ryan.
Little Jimmy Ryan.
Oh, little Jimmy Ryan.
Oh, he is very sure of that nickname, by the way. Jim, he loves it. So yeah, always be calling him that. Everybody. The other side of this with the Activision is they've been really shifting around their games in a way that feels like they are trying to get games out in some way. So that included like, okay, Overwatch 2 multiplayer, we're going to try to get that out this year. And Diablo 4 showing up at the Xbox thing. They're like, hey, you're going to be playing a version of this later this year, and that's going to launch in full next year. That's quicker than a lot of people were expecting. I started hearing about that a little bit ago, and I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. And then we started seeing it was going to be at the Xbox thing. I'm like, okay. Now, World of Warcraft, Dragonflight, the next expansion is coming this year. So it's like they are trying to like do something about their bottom line by really pushing up what it looks like just everything that Blizzard has. And I'm like, did they? One of two things happened here. Either they solved a bunch of problems with the development teams, or they are maybe like cutting and running, or like cutting and just trying like cutting their losses and say, just put out something, take what we have now, cut off anything that doesn't work, and then ship that. And it's like, are these things going to feel slight and bad? We don't know. All this that's yet to be seen. But how are you feeling about these games coming out of Blizzard right now, Lucy?
So I was initially I'm a huge Overwatch fan. I was initially kind of unsure about it. I think it plays really well. I was in the alpha and the beta, and I was like, it plays wonderfully. I don't think I can go back to Overwatch 1 now, and I genuinely don't think I can. But then I was kind of unsure about whether the changes were interesting enough to keep me playing, as religiously as I did when Overwatch 1 launched in 2016. And then, so Tam and I actually went to Blizzard and we interviewed Aaron Keller, and he talked about the roadmap, essentially, which is something that we haven't even really seen in Overwatch before, like the year one roadmap, 9-week-long seasons, a new hero every other season, like promises of new modes, new maps, tons of new heroes, and then they talked like loot boxes going, and everything they were saying was really exciting to me. And the fact that there's going to be battle passes, and so there's always going to be the carrot on the stick that's going to keep me going, because loot boxes have definitely lost their luster for me right now, because like I unlocked everything for Diva, and I was like, well, now I just have enough cash that every time something comes up I can just unlock it. But now, they're adding all the things that I want. They need to add picks and bans, because we're going to be at like 34 plus heroes, and the fact that they are putting single player into the season pass stuff, not season pass, into the battle pass stuff. So like you can play, and like all the single player stuff will work, and that's coming next year. And so I was like, as an Overwatch fan, the promise of content after 2 years of nothing has been very, very exciting to me. And the fact is that like they seem very, very aware of it. And I mean, what was it? Diablo Immortal was the first game Blizzard had put out since Overwatch in 2016.
That sounds right. Yes, that sounds right. Yes, but I don't know I can't remember for sure.
But like when you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. Yes. And so obviously pandemic, everything took a hit, but
people
now
are saying the WoW expansion, Diablo 2 remaster,
Diablo 2 remaster,
WoW Classic,
WoW
stuff
Classic.
like that. Yeah,
but first new game,
right? Yes, the ostensibly what should be a new game, even though again that's using a lot of Diablo 3 stuff. It's still a new game. Yeah.
So maybe everything just kind of landed right now, or maybe it's hey, we're getting bought, we need to be looking good and making money to juice those numbers,
Right. And it's, I mean, I guess so. It feels like, maybe this is operating in like, if the deal falls through, we need we need numbers to be able to point at. We need to have that growth to point at. And that stuff's not going to hurt like growth, but it might not be the huge fuel it needs if those things come out and they're disappointing. But you're right. I mean, at least the people who are working on Overwatch 2 right now sound very competent and sure of themselves and have a plan that like is exciting you, and you're a huge Overwatch fan. So I think that's good. Let's see. Okay, so let me get my audio set up so we can listen to this. Yesterday, IGN did a tease, and I think this is still going to come up later today, that Sega will have something new to announce. Let me just, a world premiere exclusive is about to steal the show. Keep an eye on IGN Summer of Gaming tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. BST for more, presented by Sega. My screen is flickering terribly for this, so I'm just going to play the audio. Let me make sure it's going to...
Wait.
Okay, now, can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start it over. Let me turn it up a little bit for chat. Okay, everybody, what is this? I have my biases here. We'll just play it. That's a dolphin, right?
That is a dolphin.
It's Echo the Dolphin. It's got to be Echo. It's got to be a new Echo the Dolphin. Okay, I'm stopping it.
Who's asking for that?
Well, okay, listen. Some people are older and went over to their friend's house and played Sega Genesis, and Echo the Dolphin was a lot of fun, and Echo the Dolphin Defender of the Future for Dreamcast is an underrated and often ignored classic that I think many people should represent and come around on. Okay, I think of all the games that Sega could bring back, or all the franchises, I suppose, this one is definitely on the list for me. Maybe it's not at the very top, but I mean, at this point, after hearing this thing and having people like, what else could that possibly be? Some people are saying Super Monkey Ball, but they just did a Super Monkey Ball.
They just did one.
Yeah.
Wait, can we get it? Can we get it again?
Yes, we can. Yeah, let me. I'm gonna turn up a little bit higher, everybody. So just brace yourself here. Here it comes.
What's the roar?
Right. It sounds like there's. I mean, it could be a shark chasing Echo. Who knows?
Oh, and then wait, people are saying it's a monkey. Ape Escape.
I mean, listen, don't make me do what I did on my show yesterday, and that's on Nintendogs, and get up Premiere and slow it down to 50%, so it sounds what it would be like if it were underwater, like Star Trek IV: The Journey Home. I'll do it again.
Don't make me do it. I'll do it.
Make me do it. Oh, hang on, let me mute this now. Okay, so yeah, that is. We're gonna find out about this in a few hours.
Is it gonna like, if it is Echo, is that a show stealer?
Right, that's the big thing there, and so in the show they're talking about is IGN Summer of Gaming, and there's been some. I suppose there's not been a ton of things at that. They've had a lot of Sonic things, so maybe, but I don't know. It would have to be a modern full sequel, like just completely shocking Echo the Dolphin. It couldn't be like a remaster or something. So. Yeah, and I steal the show. Is there something like? Is there like a pun in there? Is it someone who's like? Is it a thief character that we're not thinking of? I don't know.
What, like Persona 5, Steal Your Heart?
Yeah.
But then there's no dolphins in Persona 5.
But I mean, maybe that sound isn't a dolphin. I mean, it sounds like a dolphin, but
or a growl. But even then, that wouldn't be a Persona sound. A growl.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Yakuza and you're gonna punch a dolphin.
Well,
punch tigers in that game.
That's very convincing now that you've said that out loud. I don't think Grubb has ever heard a dolphin. Listen, if you got to put it under Star Trek 4, people. Star Trek 4. Come on, work with me here. I've swam with the dolphins in Jamaica actually for my my honeymoon. Yeah, we went out there, and then one of the things we mostly just hung out at the resort because it was all inclusive, so there's a lot of good food and drinks. But the one thing we did was say, hey, there's dolphins. You go swim with them. And so, yeah, I swam with dolphins. They didn't do the sound at me, though, I suppose. So I guess.
They didn't growl at you.
Yes, they didn't growl at me. And they would not talk to me about Star Trek 4, even though Star Trek 4 is about humpback whales. But whatever, everybody. All right. Well, we're going to find out in a few hours. And I can't wait for everyone to be proven wrong and me be proven right. So that's going to be very exciting for me. Let's see. Call of Duty Warzone and Vanguard Season 4 Battle Pass details and Terminator bundles announced by SC Doster at GameSpot. New content is arriving to Vanguard and Warzone with the launch of Call of Duty Season 4 on June 22nd. Season 4 is called Mercenaries of Fortune, which centers on a fight between Vanguard allies in an attempt to secure an abundance of gold. And now Activision has highlighted the fortunes players can secure in this new season's Battle Pass. Season 4 will bring a new 100-tier Battle Pass to level up, which offers both free and premium tiers of content. There will be 24 items, free items in the pass, which is loaded with all the normal cosmetics like watches and weapon blueprints. The free tiers also include Season 4's weapons. Players will unlock the Macro 5 submachine gun at tier 15 and the UGM-8 light machine gun at tier 31. Activision has also announced the previously teased Terminator crossover bundles. 2 Terminator-themed bundles are coming to Vanguard and Warzone with the Season 4 mid-season update. These will include operator skins for both the T-800 and the T-1000 versions of Skynet's popular cyborg assassins. The publisher promises more intel on these limited-time bundles will come at a later date. The thing where, like, the crossover stuff showing up in games, to me, it's almost a little bit overwhelming where I'm like, I miss the things I really care about. And I guess Terminator sounds fun, but I'm not going to go check in on it. Does this move the needle for you at all, Lucy?
I saw the news drop in our Slack yesterday and I was like, ooh, Terminator. And then I remembered that I uninstalled Warzone 2 years ago.
Right.
I installed Vanguard and didn't play it. And then I deleted it for hard drive space. It was a huge, a piece of candy moment. And then, I just forgot about it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if I don't want to yuck anyone's yum, if you're into that, that's very exciting. I don't have it in me to care about COD at the moment. Like,
yes.
was really big on it in kind of the 360 days, like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops. Then I fell off massively over the past few years. I tried playing a bit of Warzone with some friends of mine, and we had a really good time, but then we would kind of ultimately default back to Overwatch as kind of our multiplayer experience, just because it's a bit more chill. Sorry, someone in chat said, I think God people need their yucks yummed.
Hey, listen, you're allowed to think that. If that is your yum, we're not going to yuck that particular yum.
I'm not going to yuck anything.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it is overwhelming. Like, listening to this battle pass, I'm sorry, there are a watch is a cosmetic now?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's better than like.
I guess in a first person, it's there. Yeah,
you're gonna be able to see it. Like, yeah, I guess that makes more sense than like the etched number on the Rainbow Six gun or whatever it was, the Graw gun, where they're like, oh yeah, if you get the NFT in the Ubisoft games, we'll put a unique number on there, and no one ever saw that. I guess in a watch it was more noticeable than that. I'm right there with you though. It's like I will tune back into Call of Duty when Modern Warfare 2 launches and Warzone 2 launches. That's like my onboarding ramp, and until then, I'm gonna be like, maybe Terminator carries over. I don't know. I don't think they have established whether all these things are going to carry over to Warzone 2. I'm not sure if they've said as much. So, yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, Terminator 2, the greatest action movie ever made. I would love to have T1000 and the T800, but realistically, like, I could just not. I could just watch Terminator 2 again.
Right. Yes. You know? Or I could finally get into Fortnite and go play as like a million other characters and stuff. Like my options for
the T1000 flossing.
Yes, I can engage with the content and brands I like in a million other ways. So it's like, is this where I'm going to invest my time and money? Probably not.
I love to hashtag engage with hashtag brands.
That's exactly that. That's
the hashtag
makes
metaverse.
Life worth living. Absolutely. Gotham Knights will have the biggest Gotham in a video game thus far. Gotham Knights has the biggest version of Gotham that has been represented in video games, and that's according to the developer there.
Me too.
Yeah.
Stop it! Stop making things bigger.
Isn't that's like such an old line for open world games, right? It's it is the biggest one. Like they've said that from the beginning, but it's like, okay, these are getting pretty big enough, right? They're big enough at this point. We care about the density, right? It has to be, there has to be a density of content instead of just a breadth of space to explore. At least for
enough slices.
Yes, any game as a city should be about like, oh, there's something happening on every street corner or something like that, and not the other thing. Let's see. This is executive producer Fleur Marty. I'm sure I'm screwing that name up. He said, let's see here. When asked just how big Gotham Knights map actually is, Marty answered, "For sure, it's the biggest version of Gotham that has been represented in video games, which is no small feat considering Batman Arkham City's huge scale. The most important thing for us is its density and verticality," which he said right there. "It has a lot of layers. The bat cycle is the long-range mode of transportation," Marty continued. "I tend to spend a lot of time on my Zoom calls on the bats." Okay. On Zoom calls, he's on the bat cycle driving around Gotham. I didn't read that line before, and I have no idea what that could possibly mean, but all right, fair enough. "It is one of the fastest and most chill ways to move around the city. It feels like a big place." Okay. They're speaking to both sides of that coin where it's big, there's a lot going on. Gotham Knights continues to be one of those things where I'm like, I just need to play this to know if I care about it or not now.
I want it to be good.
Yes.
Because I'm jonesing for a good Batman. Batman is dead.
Batman is dead.
We need a Bat fam. Oh god, I'm still thinking about Red Hood with his little spirit jumps though. I don't know what to make of that. I really want it to be good. Like I've missed playing Arkham games. Although like Arkham Knight still looks incredible. Jesus Christ, I've been so tempted to re-download it.
Yeah,
but,
I actually just got it back on my Steam Deck. So it's like I might play it on there.
That's a good Steam Deck game.
Yeah, just like show some Batman. Like that's where that is going to be for me for now. Absolutely.
Yeah. But no, the biggest version of Gotham. Just don't make it dense, make it interesting. If there is not at least one NPC who goes, "It's the Bat," then I'm not interested.
That's what I need. That's how I get out of bed.
I just need that guy back.
Yes.
But instead of saying "It's the Bat," he goes, "It's the Bat family."
That better be in the game now. I'm gonna be
Oh
really
no,
disappointed if
I
it's not.
did tweet that, and Mitch Dyer was like, "I'll make a note because he's
Okay,
working on it."
good
So, is
man.
it good?
Thank you,
Please
Mitch.
put it in. Put it in.
All right, a couple more stories here. A major Forza Horizon 5 patch is out now by Haley Williams at GameSpot. Forza Horizon 5's latest patch is a major one, adding story mode co-op and a new event and new Hot Wheels cars and cosmetics ahead of the July expansion's release. The patch also fixes a number of high-profile bugs, adds convertible functionality to some of Forza Horizon 5's cars, and adds support for a handful of new languages in both subtitles and voiceover. I tell you, okay, listen, I'm very excited for that Hot Wheels expansion. It's cool that some of the cars are in there. I will play around with this. The thing that's most exciting to me right now, and it's just because it's like summertime and I'm ready to go full island boy, is convertible cars. I'll drive around in a convertible in that game. That sounds like a way to like just getting those summer vibes. I need that.
Yeah. Like going around blasting Foo Fighters
Yes.
with the top down.
Exactly. I don't care if the neighbors hear. I want the neighbors to hear.
I want them to be envious of my
Yes.
experience. I have not. I didn't play enough of Forza Horizon 5 as I should have because I was trying to play it with Simon Cardy from IGN, and just like we were having a hell of a time getting into games together.
Yes.
There was a bunch of issues with servers and stuff, and so I don't know. This, I mean, if they're fixing it, and we've got Hot Wheels, and we've got convertibles.
Yes, and they're speaking exactly to the issues that you've had. The patch brings good news for those who like to play in a group, with the update finally fixing a bug that affected, well, this is 12-player convoys, but I imagine it's probably going to have fixes for anyone who's trying to group up and has had issues with that. So
Yeah.
That's good. And then No More Heroes 3, the game is launching in Japan on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S on October 6th. So Marvelous Entertainment began streaming a new video for Grasshopper Manufacturers' new No More Heroes 3, and that was on Wednesday, earlier this morning. The video revealed that the game's October 6th release date in Japan is coming to all those systems. So, yeah, making its way off the Switch. I think a lot of people seem to enjoy that game, and some people are like, "This is just not hitting with me at all." And I've never been a No More Heroes fan, so it's just.
I've never been into it either. Kurt on our team at GameSpot, like he is a very big No More Heroes guy, and he reviewed 3, and he was like, I think he gave it a 6 or something, and he was like, there's stuff in here for me to love, but I mean, like I think he said like driving was fundamentally broken. Ooh.
Controller just fell off the wall, everybody. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. It's
Suda. It's Suda. He heard me.
I think it was the Amazon Luna controller, so we're good.
Bezos heard.
Bezos,
ghost
send me
of
another
Jeff.
controller. Yeah, come on, man. All right. You know what? It's time for. It's time for the catch up. Let's go ahead and get into this, where we're going to talk about some big stories that people are talking about and things that are happening in the near future. Fall Guys launched, and it's on Xbox and Switch now, and a bunch of people start playing again because it went free to play. I want to know, and this is going to be part of the poll this week. We'll get to this in a second, the new question. But when a game goes from paid to free to play, do you check in on it?
If I've not played it before, that would possibly give me the impetus to check in on it. Yeah, I mean, with Fall Guys, I'm probably not going to go back just because my friend group has kind of moved on from it, and that's,
Right.
I think, where that game really shines. But I mean, if it's something that I've kind of been meaning to play and I never got around to it for any reason, and then it's free, like this is why I started playing Final Fantasy 14 last year because of the free trial.
Free trial at level 60, I believe. Yeah, and all that stuff.
Of the critically acclaimed MMO JRPG.
Yeah, award-winning Heavensward expansion. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know. It depends title by title, I guess. I mean, PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, even though neither of those are really free, paying for subscriptions, like that would kind of tempt me. If like I have a list of games that I want to play, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go.
Right. Yes. Like you sort of built those subscriptions into your like the cost of doing gaming, right? So you didn't think about them.
Yeah, that's my stupid capitalism mindset where I'm like, oh no, wait, it's free, isn't it? I was like, no, I'm paying however much per year for this.
The game was having a lot of online issues, so a lot of people were trying to get in. It seemed it was overwhelming the system.
I'm glad. Like the game is a lot of fun. The team as well is like super super nice, and like all the stuff they've been adding to it, like all of the different costumes and near tie-ins and whatever. That's really cute. I loved seeing that. But yeah, I'm probably not gonna go back.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where for my Discord, right? Now I know it's free and crossplay and on every system. So when we suggest it for a community game night, it makes way more sense than it did a few weeks ago. So it's like that's where it's going to really work. And I think we're going to be playing it on UPF this Friday, everybody. So again, get it installed wherever you're going to play. Make sure your Epic stuff is all connected and everything. But yeah, that's where I'm like, okay, that's a ton of fun. That's exactly how I want to be experiencing that game. And so I'm glad that I have the pathways, the avenues to make that happen and really take advantage of that stuff. But it's otherwise, you're right. It's in this case, just because this one went paid for. I played it so much when it was launching on PlayStation Plus originally, and I played it elsewhere. So like I've had my time with it, and I'm ready mostly just to when we have community game nights, that's when I'll play it. We talked a little bit about this up top, but I wanted to still get a little bit more your take here, because PlayStation is the latest company to confirm it won't attend Gamescom. In a statement issued to German publications Games Wirtschaft, a spokesperson for PlayStation confirmed it would not attend this year's event. Let's see. Other companies, including Nintendo, Activision Blizzard, and Take-Two Interactive, have said they will not attend Gamescom. So you went to Key 3. You got in a room with a bunch of vendors and game companies trying to show stuff off in a place, and it's not anywhere near the scale of what traditional E3s were, but it was like people trying to recapture that idea and make it work. Where on the spectrum of being fully back to the COVID lockdown days, where on that spectrum are we in terms of how these events make sense for companies? It makes sense for us covering it.
I mean, in terms of Key 3, it was very, obviously the titles there. The big one was Street Fighter 6. Callisto Protocol was interview only. Sonic Frontiers was there, but it was embargoed and kind of restrictions on it. And so those were the big hitters, I would say, and everything else was amazing. Like Day of the Devs, I've said repeatedly, was my favorite stuff that I played while I was there. But it was a kind of thing that you could see everything in a day max.
Right.
And games, they're buggered right now. Development has been really difficult during the pandemic, and so I think maybe, PlayStation saying that they're skipping Gamescom, all the others like Nintendo, Activision Blizzard, Take-Two, saying that they're all going to skip is it makes sense, because typically what companies used to do is they would have the kind of hands-off stuff usually most of the time at E3. Those demos would then be playable again at PAXs, but particularly at Gamescom, biggest consumer show in the world. But it was something built into the roadmap. And I guess if everyone's already struggling enough to make a game, why would you waste your time making something for an event that might not even happen,
Absolutely.
like an in-person event that might not even happen? So I don't know if we're really fully back yet. And I'm intrigued. There's still going to be a lot of people going to Gamescom. It's a huge, huge show. I don't think it's going to be on the scale of... I can't see those halls getting filled up right now.
It'll be like there'll be more empty space than usual. They'll fill it up with other things, maybe local
simulator games as far as the eye can.
And really, is there anything wrong with that? That sounds right.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. The farming simulator booth at Gamescom is always one of the most popular.
Yes.
And the stuff like Power Wash Simulator and everything, and those games are chill and they absolutely have an audience, and that audience is massive in Europe. But in terms of if you're thinking about the tentpole releases coming up in Q3, Q4, a COD not being at Gamescom, COD was always one of the most popular games there. People would queue. I remember going and seeing line here is 6 hours for COD.
Wow.
1 year at Gamescom.
Okay, I didn't know. I've never been to Gamescom. I've always wanted to go. So, but that's the kind of thing where it's it does sound overwhelming in its scale.
Oh yeah. I mean, there were years that I would go. I've been 8 times to Gamescom. There were years that we would go and just not go in the halls because it's 400,000 people. And not great aircon.
Yeah,
it's stepping off a plane.
Will Shire in chat is saying this. I keep giggling at this. Less people in booths means more room for cigarette smoke. I'm like, oh yeah, Europe. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they allow smoking at the Kölnmesse, but
fair enough.
I don't know. Just as a vibe, though, absolutely.
Totally.
Just a load of vaping. But no, it's gonna be weird. I don't think we're gonna see that. I hope it's next year. I hope next year is gonna be the
and I think it's back. These are big corporations we're talking about, Nintendo, PlayStation, that have a lot of their decision-making process is involving lawyers saying, is this okay? If we do this thing, are we going to be safe from risk of litigation or any number of things? And I bet most lawyers are like, you can't force a team to go to one of these things if they don't want to. And if they do get sick, even if they do want to and they get sick, you could maybe still be liable, especially in Europe, where the regulation is a little bit more intense on this stuff. So you should probably just skip this. And that's, like companies like Nintendo, Nintendo of America is just a law firm. And that's like, this is how they make their decision-making process works, is what do the lawyers say? And I think that's going to it's going to take some time for that decision-making process to get the green light for saying, yeah, you could send people into harm's way, potential harm's way, or into an environment that we don't fully understand the safety of yet. So, it'll take some time. This Gamescom will probably happen, and people probably
be online again.
Right.
Like we know Keely's doing opening night live, and there'll be stuff.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just going to take some time for our mental, understanding of what COVID is to also change. Like it's going to. Like it was a thing where there's a good chance you could die. And now we are in a situation where we have better medicine and better preventative stuff and vaccines, and people are doing these things. And now you go to an event and you get sick, and it does seem like it's still dangerous. And there's still a lot of unknowns, but most people are not dying anymore if they are vaccinated. So it's like, okay, we're going to get to a point where we just treat this like a lot of other illnesses, but that's going to be a slow and long process. It's going to involve a lot of like expanding our understanding of what that is and whether or not it really is safe, or if it's going to take some time to even get to that safety point as well. So,
yeah, 100%.
There was a Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct today. I tried to watch it, and I don't know. The games aren't for me. I'm not going to pretend they are.
Never played a single one.
Yeah, I didn't see any swords with boobs, which is the thing I always understand that these games are about. At least the Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
A sword with boobs?
I mean, the boobs are swords. Like it's not. I don't even think I'm exaggerating, but chat can maybe help us out here. But like that was.
Do I want to Google Xenoblade sword boobs? Do I want to Google Xenoblade sword boobs?
I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to say yes, but. Yeah.
Sword with boobs and egg-shaped Muppets. The boobs
are swords. Yeah. So okay, Google it. Says what chat says.
Well, this is on my personal computer, so
yeah. There you go.
Xenoblade sword boobs.
So, but I didn't see much of that in this trailer or this little breakdown of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I did see some stuff like people holding sci-fi like big guns, like they're from Aliens, or Colonial Marines, or something like. I'm like, okay. Some of this stuff looks pretty cool and pretty fun, and the combat looks engaging. But it does have that thing where all the characters have a lot of voice acting. So in combat, they're like, "I'm gonna get you," and then like 4 other characters are saying kind of a similar thing all at the same time. Like they're still doing that stuff. So
yeah,
I don't know. But hey, if you're into that video is available.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of one of those games where it's like I wish I had the time, because people who really like Xenoblade really really like it. So I just don't have the time, and so it's always kind of been a spot in my knowledge.
So this is Propaganda Panda. So the swords have avatars, and those avatars have boobs. All right.
Okay.
I just know that my former coworker at GamesBeat, Mike Minotti, would review these games. And with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 specifically, he's like, yeah, I'd be embarrassed if someone walked in and watched me playing this game because of characters like Pyra. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of my takeaway. And it's always, secondhand. So don't trust me. Okay, let's take a look at this question of the day. Let me transition over here. So I asked you folks on Monday, do we get a big Nintendo Direct later this month? And the results were 54% say yes and 56% say no. I think that this comes down to how you define a big Nintendo Direct. Lucy, where are you at on this? Because the rumors are we're going to get something later this month, even after the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct. Where are you at?
I want one. So I really hope that we get one. Like, Bayonetta 3 is still meant to be coming out this year. Would be great to have a look at my best bitch and see where she's at and when I can play Bayonetta 3, but I really hope it. And like, it kind of does make sense with regards to the fact that it's still June, it's still the summer, but everyone is kind of spacing themselves out a little bit. Like, PlayStation did that, has been doing that as well, as like making their own event, making it more of a big deal, not sharing the spotlight. Nintendo, I think, they obviously pioneered the direct format. They can go whenever they like, but I feel like, a midway point in the year when they still have stuff that's coming out makes sense. So I hope it's happening, I want it to happen. Fingers crossed.
Yes, I'm at a point where the things that the rumors that are out there swirling among the people that often talk about Nintendo Direct rumors and things like that. All the stuff that we're hearing about are like third-party things. There's a lot of first-party stuff that Nintendo does. It does feel like they need to talk about soon, but none of them have been linked to this Direct yet. So I'm like, there's a chance it's a partner showcase. It could come out as a mini Direct. They've done one of those in the past. The issue is in the past, in June, for many years in a row, they've done a big show, and they didn't do one of those this year. And so we're still all kind of like waiting, like what's going to happen? Are they going to do that show? The things I've heard is like, oh, they are going to spread out these announcements. That's what they are like. They're going to do them in smaller things across, a series of weeks. And it feels like it started with this Xenoblade Chronicles thing. If the thing next week that does happen, and it is like a partner showcase, then I would also still expect more Nintendo focused news to come after that even. But I'm thinking like they just feel like we have so many things that were already previously announced and many things that are remasters or half remakes. And maybe those don't need an entire Direct. Maybe we'd be better off just putting those in tweets or something like that. I don't know, but I think that's a possibility.
I hope they put.
I hope so too. I'm definitely there because I want them to just come out and say Metroid Prime 1 remaster is coming in November. I just want them to come out and say that we should be playing that. Please make it happen.
How is Persona on Xbox before it's on Switch?
Right, and that's like the kind of thing where it's like that's one of those things that like even if this is like a mini Direct or a partner showcase, that could show up there, and I would think that it's possible still. Okay, so I wanted to ask everybody. I asked Lucy already, but I want to ask all of you, and this is for tomorrow's show. Does your interest in a game increase, even just slightly, when a game goes from paid to free to play? When it makes that switch and you get a chance to get because again, for me, it was always like, oh, I can convince my friends to come and play now. I was already playing, but now I can get other people to play because I don't have to tell them to spend money, which is a thing I hate telling people to do. So does that work for you, or is it usually like, this is just another point on the news calendar that I'm mostly ignoring? We'll answer that tomorrow when we do another morning mess on Giant Bomb. Lucy, what is happening on Giant Bomb this week? We got a bunch of things happening. Like I said, we're
Arcade
Pit. That's right.
Today.
Yeah. And then
we're playing
Turtles after that.
Turtles. I mean, I said this in the Discord, and I said it when I was streaming yesterday. I've never consumed a single piece of turtle media. So
Jan, I believe, said that the first movie is art and like a masterpiece, and I think I agree with him. I love that first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the live action one with the puppets and stuff. It really defined a lot. It's like really steeped in 90s. It like is totally tubular and all that stuff. It's worth checking out now. I think it's on Prime Video. Is it on Prime Video? I think it is. At least it was there recently. So, but honestly, you can go to this game and you're like, you probably have like kind of like been on the periphery of Turtles stuff and like have seen people making references. A lot of that stuff is going to be like, oh, that's how deep this goes. Like that's all I really needed. Well, you're fine.
My chat yesterday was like, they have a cat called Lucy. Tam dropped a knowledge bomb on me that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is like not a ripoff, but like an homage to Daredevil. Like, you know how Daredevil, he fights against the hand and the turtles fight against the feet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of like they just were like looking at Daredevil and they took a lot of stuff. Yeah, what else was it?
Stick and
Stick and
something else.
Splinter. So yes, Daredevil's master was Stick and the Turtles' master was Splinter. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a cat called Lucy in there. I did embarrass myself fully by trying to guess the names of all the turtles because I knew Donatello, Michelangelo. And then I said Da Vinci, not right. And then my community was like, try Renaissance painters. And I was like, that doesn't help me. Look at me. The only piece of art on my wall is a Lord of the Rings thing.
Well, okay.
Da Vinci.
There are.
We got there again, like Raphael and.
Wait. So who do you have so far? You have.
So Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael, and Michelangelo.
Yes, there you go. Yes. Wait. Yes. Okay. There you go. Okay. Now there are 4 like battle frogs that are like sort of like this weird spin-off, and they're named after ancient warlords from history. Do you want to guess about any of those? Like famous generals.
Attila?
Yes, that's one. Attila the Frog.
Alexander?
No, not. But that's a really good guess and probably should be one.
Caesar?
Nope. You were kind of like similar to Alexander the Great, but in Asia.
Alexander the Great, but in Asia.
He
Oh.
invaded China. Genghis Frog.
Oh, Genghis.
Or
Oh.
just however you say that. And then Napoleon Bonafrog and Rasputin the Mad Frog. So there you go. All right, everybody, please watch us play Ninja Turtles today. I can't wait. It's gonna be 6-player co-op on Friday.
It's gonna be madness.
Turn in for UPF. It's gonna be Fall Guys, a bunch of other stuff before that, but we're gonna end with Fall Guys, and we're gonna do custom games and all that stuff. Check the site. There's a bunch of other things coming. We got things in upcoming, so keep an eye out for that. We're gonna wrap up here, though. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Until tomorrow's show, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Bye.